Hey crafters, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our haunted house card. I've got all of my pieces cut out here in front of me, and as usual, especially during Halloween, I know that sending cards for Halloween maybe isn't as obviously not as popular as Christmas, but I still do it, and I know a lot of you still do it, and well, why not make it so that, well, once the recipient receives the card, it doubles as a little decoration. Now you can send them a little tea light, but most people have tea lights at home that they can just kind of put in between the card. You'll see it when it's all done here. Here's the card base. Now I've cut this using the solid scoreline version, and here's a really cool little print-to-cut element that we've included. We've also included a blank version of this piece. And actually cut it out of this cool neon yellow from 12 by 12 cardstock shop. But this is going to go right inside here like this. You want to make sure that you maintain a nice even border all the way around. Which I am not doing right now. There we go. This is like printer paper. Really thick printer paper, like almost, it is basically a cardstock. But there's going to be your little insert. Got the caption already in there for you if you want it. Otherwise, again, you can do whatever you want with it. Okay, so there's our card base. And what we're going to do first is build the little background scene, which I have here in front of me. We're going to flip this over because we need to put some vellum in place. Okay, this little green circle is going to be for our little pumpkin, or jack-o'-lantern. So just throw a little bit of glue on there and just pop that on there. Just make sure that you've got the entire pumpkin face covered. Now this piece looks a little wonky, and that's just because I lost it. You're going to have two magenta colored ovals. Those are for the creepy little lanterns. So there's one that's going to go right here, and the other one that's going to go right here. Okay, so I just hand cut that because I didn't feel like going in and redoing everything. All right, and then finally we have this large piece that's going to cover everything else. All of the windows. So what you want to do here is just throw a little bit of glue around the perimeter, around all of the windows, nice and easy. Maybe do a few in the center just for good measure. And just make sure that you are in fact covering or placing this so that all of the windows are covered. Okay, so that's that. Very simple so far. Not a difficult card at all. Very fun actually. And then I'm going to flatten this out. And this is going to get glued on like so. We just want to make sure that we match this up with the window cutouts, and you can see here that it is going to be flush on the bottom. Okay, so this is quite simple still. And this paper is a little bit thinner than I'm used to, so I'm going to just make sure that I don't cake this with too much glue. And don't get any glue where the light shines through. Don't get any glue where the light shines through, okay? If it helps, initially at least, you can kind of lift up the card base just to make sure that we're getting it aligned correctly. And make sure that it's as centered as possible so all that light can shine through there. Again, make sure it's flush on the bottom. Just like that. Press that down. And now while we have it flat, it'd be a good time just to go through and add the little embellishments that come with this. I hope I didn't lose my moon. I didn't, thank goodness. Okay, there's a little moon that's going to go right here. You can see we've placed a series of little markers on that green piece to help you with the positioning of all these little details. Okay, this moon to me was a little bit too small to ink, so I just left it alone. Just pop that into place, and then we have a series of little bats that I actually cut out of a purple glitter. Okay, our largest one is going to go right here, just below the moon. So just a few little dots of blue, and then you can see that there are little markers for the tips of the wings to help you with the placement. Our smallest bat is going to go right down here, and don't overdo it on the glue with these. If you get too much glue on there, just dab it with your finger to thin it out. We don't want any of that glue. And then there's one bat that's going to go on our actual smoke on the chimney. We'll leave that for later. So the bat that's a little bit smaller than the largest remaining bat is the one that's going to go right here. Okay. All right. So that's that. We're going to take this layer. Okay. And this layer is going to get glued down flat like so. And what I would do is focus on getting the house glued down first, and then we can just take and paint a little bit of glue onto the lanterns to get those in place. Okay, so let's do that. Go ahead and start applying your glue onto this entire thing here. This is all going down flat. And these little areas here where you have all these little cutouts, don't worry too much about getting glue on every single inch of it. Chances are it's just going to end up bleeding through anyway, and we don't want that. Okay, so use the little cutouts as your guide for placement of this piece. Make sure that that's all nice and aligned. The idea is that we really want that light to shine through nicely. Okay, there we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a scrap piece of paper here and throw a little bit of glue, just very thin, on this scrap piece. Lift up this lantern and just kind of let it drop onto that glue. Line it up with that little cutout for the vellum so that that little bit of purple shows through there. Just lifting it up and just kind of dropping it right onto the glue and pressing it into place. There we go, just like that. All right, now while we're here, I'm going to start adding some of the little accents to the back part of the house, including the roof trim and the window trim. So I'm going to start with this piece here. Okay, and that's going to go right here. It's all pretty self-explanatory, but as always, we're going to walk you through it. Okay, there's a little window that goes there as well. Hopefully I can find all my pieces. I believe that one goes there, and it does. And these are relatively small, so you don't need a lot of glue. And you especially want to make sure you don't use a lot of glue because we're gluing this onto a black cardstock. And although the bottle says that it dries clear, it leaves a little bit of a sheen that I'm not a huge fan of. So just be careful and cautious and take your time. Okay, then we've got this little piece here for, I guess this is part of the roof. That's going to go right here. Cool little paper piecing project. Nothing overly difficult. Okay, let's go ahead and put together our little chimney. Okay, this white piece is going to go on top of, I believe that's a stone. I don't remember the exact color. It's all in your supply list though. Okay, we have a little bit of smoke coming out. There's a nice little cozy fire happening in our creepy little haunted house. And then we have this darker color that's going to go on top. That's the chimney cap. And I have taken some time to ink these various elements, especially the darker ones. I don't think I'm really going to do anything with this white one. We'll just leave that alone just to add a little bit of contrast. You could foam square this. I'm going to glue this down flat because it's kind of an awkward piece. And that's going to go right there like so. Just press that down. And then our final little bat can actually glue that to the smoke wherever you want. Just like that. That's cool. Okay, I have a tiny little window over here on the left-hand side that will pop into place. There we go. Okay, and that's going to be it for the backmost layer. All right, the next thing we're going to do is start building the, well, this is going to be a zotted layer. And we're going to take these two houses, they're identical, and just glue them together. That's going to give us a nice sturdy foundation to foam square onto the actual card. The reason that, well, it's just, the reason we did two is, again, to make sure that it's rigid enough to foam square and kind of hold its shape, because we wanted to foam square this to create some separation between the front and the back of the house. Okay, so got that in place, and this is where we're just going to be putting a little bit of detail onto the house. Okay, so we're going to grab all of our little windows. It's mostly just little windows, so just be patient here, take your time, be very sparse with the glue. And if you get too much on there, just dab it off with your finger. Okay, but that's what it should look like. Pretty important to keep a nice clean nozzle. This one's going to go here, and I'm going to try even harder to keep that glue concentrated on the actual window. Yeah, my tip was kind of dirty. It was spreading glue in areas where I didn't want it. And there, tried to be sparse with the glue, and it just wasn't enough initially, but it's fine now. Okay, this one's going to go there. These windows are kind of wonky as far as their shapes, so it's pretty easy to identify where they go. And again, I would just kind of dab these, the backs of these with your finger, just to make sure that that glue doesn't bleed onto the black. Okay, this one's going to go here. Relatively simple card, but it's cool because, you know, we added the vellum, and it's really going to make it pop when we put the light in there. So your recipient will appreciate that. I'm over the store-bought cards. They're so, I don't know, boring. Okay. Nice and easy with the glue here. And just line that up. If you get a little bit of that black poking through the center, it's not the end of the world. You can see how cool that's all going to look once it's all in place. Okay, a few more windows here. And then the door, we're actually going to foam square the door as well. You could, if you want, just glue it down flat. If you think that you've got too much dimension going on at any point on any layer, you can decide whether you want to foam square it or not. There's no rule against it. Obviously, we try to make things pop and be as dimensional as possible, where possible, but you don't have to do it that way. There we go. And it seems as hard as I try, a little bit of that glue pops out, but if you just dab it with your finger, it should just come off without really leaving too much behind. Okay, there's that final window. Looks good. Okay, so then you can take these two pieces, got to glue this on. Glue these together, make them two layers. You can foam square this if you want. But I think I'm going to glue it down flat, just because there's a lot going on already. Just got to get a feel for it. This is my second project of the day, you would think by now would have gotten my feet wet. And again, you can foam square this layer if you want. I think I'm just going to go flat. Okay, so we don't need to put glue beyond the peak of the roof on that cross. We'll just keep it on the roof trim. Boy, this is being a pain in the butt today. Here we go. Beautiful. Okay. All right, so that's that. And this one, again, I'm going to take and we use some foam squares on this to pop this out a little bit, create some, some dimension on this. So we'll flip this over, and I'm going to grab my skinnier foam squares here and place them wherever possible, especially in areas that don't have any cutouts. Obviously, we don't want to obstruct the light from popping through, and I think that should be enough. I'm not going to worry about putting stuff in between the windows. We have enough foam squares doing all the heavy lifting around the perimeter, and the few inside will keep this nice and stable for us. Okay, there we go. So this, just need to make sure that you line this up as accurately as you can. Whoops. I'm looking at the little edges of the roof there. Okay, that looks great. Okay, cool beans. So finally, we have this little door portion here, and it's the gray color, then black, then gray again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the small gray on the black first, and try to make tiny little steps as efficiently as possible. It is kind of a small little piece, but it's doable. Just get that lined up as accurately as you can. And press that down. Okay. And then this piece is going to get glued onto the larger gray piece. I'll thin that out with my finger, just so I don't have glue going all over the place. There's some kids getting excited for Halloween out there. I don't think that's Peyton. I think that's his buddy Rhett across the street. We just had some new neighbors move in, and they have basically a 2-year-old, so that was perfect. Okay. All right, so this, I think I'm just going to glue this one down flat. You could foam square it, but again, I think there's so much going on as far as dimension already that I don't think it's necessary. We'll do a little bit on the sides here, just a thin line on the bottom, a little bit on top, and just match that up. You can see there's like that little trapezoid shape down at the bottom there, and of course, you want to make sure that you get that aligned with the cutouts for the vellum. There we go. And there you go. Okay, so before we wrap this up here, we've got 2 layers that look like this. This back layer I left alone, but this front layer I inked pretty heavily with black, because what I wanted to do is kind of make sure that it blended with the background, but also kind of stood out. Okay, so I went with that, and we need to glue these 2 layers together because, again, we wanted to kind of reinforce it. And there's a lot of stuff going on here with this fence, so just do your best to get as much glue on there as you can to hold it together. And pop that on top of the other layer. Just match up all the little cutouts like so. Pretty straightforward. Okay, press that down. And then we have a little jack-o'-lantern that gets glued on here as well. We've got a orange glitter that's going to go on top of this Apple Martini Couture color, Couture paper. I think it's Couture. Oh yeah, there it is. It has a little bit of bling to it. There's our cool little jack-o'-lantern. We'll flip them over. I'm not going to worry about putting any glue on the stem, just on the body or the face. And that's going to go right here. I'm gluing that down flat. You could use a foam square if you want, but I think there's plenty going on there. And then this, we are going to foam square to kind of create a little bit of dimension. Okay, and I'm going to focus the foam squares on the bottom section only, wherever I can. I may need to actually cut some of these, and you can cut these. Let me grab some scissors here so I can show you. You can take your foam squares and literally cut them with some scissors if you need pieces to be a little bit smaller, like here on the corners, like that. Okay. I'm going to do one right here. And let's put one down at the bottom here. I think that should do it. Peel those off. And we want this to be centered and flush with the bottom. And there you go. I think it looks really cool. Okay, so again, I'm going to put a little light in here. I actually brought one. This is just a little fairy light, but you can see how cool that looks when it glows. But of course, no Dreaming Tree card would be complete without a coordinating envelope, which I have here. And I did cut this out, as I typically do, using the solid scoreline version of the file. I like my envelopes to look nice and clean. Take my little scraper tool and use it to get those folds nice and crisp. I do think that it could go a little bit deeper with the folding, or with the scoring, but it's fine. It'll work. Does the job. It's a huge pain for, if you're using it for like 3D projects, having to fold and then use your score tool. I'm not a big fan of that. So I just reserve it for cards and envelopes, mostly, and boxes sometimes. All right, so here's what we're gonna do with this. We're gonna take and apply some glue around our pumpkin face, like so. Then on this piece, I got my texture side here that I'm applying glue to, and I'm just gonna do it right around the perimeter, like so. And that's gonna go right in there, nice and even border all the way around. Press that down. Okay, and you can see we've got a little pumpkin face there. We're gonna bring in the two sides, and then the bottom flap's gonna come up. We're gonna take and apply some glue right along the inside perimeter here, like so. Okay, and close that up, like so. And there's our coordinating envelope, ready to go with our card. And that's it. So that's gonna do it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the assembly video for our haunted house card. Again, super quick, but really cool looking. And again, if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I would love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Official. We've got about 47,000 other crafters just like you that hang out and inspire us daily. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new project, whether it be paid or free. So again, happy hauntings, and as always,
I look forward to crafting with you again.
Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos and please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section where you'll find over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly tutorials. I'll see you in the craft room.